Constitution Act, 1867, 30, and 31 Victoria, C3, UK, an Act for the Union of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, and the government thereof, and for purposes connected therewith, the 29th of March 1867, whereas the provinces of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick have expressed their desire to be federally united into one Dominion, under the Crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, with a constitution similar in principle to that of the United Kingdom. And whereas such a union would conduce to the welfare of the provinces, and promote the interests of the British Empire, and whereas on the establishment of the Union by authority of Parliament it is expedient, not only that the constitution of the legislative authority in the Dominion be provided for, but also that the nature of the executive government therein be declared, and whereas it is expedient that provision be made for the eventual admission into the Union of other parts of British North America. End note 1. 1. Preliminary, marginal note, short title, 1. This act may be cited as the Constitution Act, 1867, and note 2. 2. Repealed, and note 3. 2. Union, marginal note, Declaration of Union, 3. It shall be lawful for the Queen, by and with the advice of Her Majesty's most honourable Privy Council, to declare by proclamation, that, on and after a day therein appointed, not being more than 6 months after the passing of this Act, the provinces of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick shall form, and be one Dominion, under the name of Canada, and on and after that day those 3 provinces shall form, and be one Dominion, under that name accordingly. And note 4. Marginal note, construction of subsequent provisions of Act 4. Unless it is otherwise expressed or implied, the name Canada shall be taken to mean Canada, as constituted under this Act. And note 5. Marginal note, 4 provinces. 5. Canada shall be divided into 4 provinces, named Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. And note 6. Marginal note, provinces of Ontario and Quebec. 6. The parts of the province of Canada, as it exists at the passing of this Act, which formerly constituted respectively the provinces of Upper Canada and Lower Canada, shall be deemed to be severed, and shall form 2 separate provinces. The part which formerly constituted the province of Upper Canada shall constitute the province of Ontario, and the part which formerly constituted the province of Lower Canada shall constitute the province of Quebec. Marginal note, provinces of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. 7. The provinces of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick shall have the same limits as at the passing of this Act. Marginal note, decennial census. 8. In the general census of the population of Canada, which is hereby required to be taken in the year 1871, and in every 10th year thereafter, the respective populations of the 4 provinces shall be distinguished. 3. Executive power. Marginal note, declaration of executive power in the Queen. 9. The executive government and authority of and over Canada is hereby declared to continue and be vested in the Queen. Marginal note, application of provisions referring to Governor-General. 10. The provisions of this Act referring to the Governor-General extend and apply to the Governor-General, for the time being of Canada, or other the Chief Executive Officer or Administrator, for the time being carrying on the government of Canada on behalf and in the name of the Queen, by whatever title he is designated. Marginal note, Constitution of Privy Council for Canada. 11. There shall be a council to aid and advise in the government of Canada, to be styled the Queen's Privy Council for Canada, and the persons who are to be members of that council shall be from time to time chosen and summoned by the Governor-General, and sworn in as Privy Councillors, and members thereof may be from time to time removed by the Governor-General. Marginal note, all powers under Acts, to be exercised by Governor-General with advice of Privy Council, or alone. 12. All powers, authorities, and functions which under any Act of the Parliament of Great Britain, or of the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, or of the Legislature of Upper Canada, Lower Canada, Canada, Nova Scotia, or New Brunswick, are at the Union vested in or exercisable by the respective governors or lieutenant governors of those provinces, with the advice and consent of the respective executive councils thereof, or in conjunction with those councils, or with any number of members thereof, or by those governors or lieutenant governors individually, shall, as far as the same continue in existence, and capable of being exercised after the Union in relation to the Government of Canada, be vested in and exercisable by the Governor-General, with the advice and consent of or in conjunction with the Queen's Privy Council for Canada, or any members thereof, or by the Governor-General individually, as the case requires, subject nevertheless, except with respect to such as exist under Acts of the Parliament of Great Britain, or of the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, to be abolished or altered by the Parliament of Canada. And Note 7. Marginal Note. Application of provisions referring to Governor-General and Council. 13. The provisions of this Act referring to the Governor-General and Council shall be construed as referring to the Governor-General acting by and with the advice of the Queen's Privy Council for Canada. Marginal Note. Power to Her Majesty to authorize Governor-General to appoint deputies. 14. It shall be lawful for the Queen, if Her Majesty thinks fit, to authorize the Governor-General from time to time to appoint any person, or any persons jointly or severally to be his deputy or deputies, within any part or parts of Canada, and in that capacity, to exercise during the pleasure of the Governor-General such of the powers, authorities, and functions of the Governor-General as the Governor-General deems it necessary or expedient to assign to him, or them, subject to any limitations or directions expressed or given by the Queen, but the appointment of such a deputy or deputies shall not affect the exercise by the Governor-General himself of any power, authority, or function. Marginal Note. Command of armed forces to continue to be vested in the Queen. 15. The Command-in-Chief of the Land and Naval Militia, and of all naval and military forces, of and in Canada, is hereby declared to continue and be vested in the Queen. Marginal Note. Seat of Government of Canada. 16. Until the Queen otherwise directs, the seat of Government of Canada shall be Ottawa. 4. Legislative power. Marginal Note. Constitution of Parliament of Canada. 17. There shall be one Parliament for Canada, consisting of the Queen, an upper house styled the Senate, and the House of Commons. Marginal Note. Privileges, etc., of houses. 18. The privileges, immunities, and powers to be held, enjoyed, and exercised by the Senate, and by the House of Commons, and by the members thereof respectively, shall be such as are from time to time defined by Act of the Parliament of Canada, but so that any Act of the Parliament of Canada defining such privileges, immunities, and powers shall not confer any privileges, immunities, or powers exceeding those at the passing of such Act held, enjoyed, and exercised by the Commons House of Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and by the members thereof. And Note 8. Marginal Note. First Session of the Parliament of Canada. 19. The Parliament of Canada shall be called together not later than 6 months after the Union. And Note 9. 20. Repealed. And Note 10. The Senate. Marginal Note. Number of Senators. 21. The Senate shall, subject to the provisions of this Act, consist of 105 members, who shall be styled senators. And Note 11. Marginal Note. Representation of provinces in Senate. 22. In relation to the Constitution of the Senate, Canada shall be deemed to consist of 4 divisions. 1. Ontario. 2. Quebec. 3. The Maritime Provinces, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. 4. The Western Provinces of Manitoba, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, which for division shall, subject to the provisions of this Act, be equally represented in the Senate, as follows: Ontario, by 24 senators; Quebec, by 24 senators; the Maritime Provinces and Prince Edward Island, by 24 senators, 10 thereof representing Nova Scotia, 10 thereof representing New Brunswick, and 4 thereof representing Prince Edward Island. The Western Provinces, by 24 senators, 6 thereof representing Manitoba, 6 thereof representing British Columbia, 6 thereof representing Saskatchewan, and 6 thereof representing Alberta. Newfoundland shall be entitled to be represented in the Senate by 6 members. The Yukon Territory, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut shall be entitled to be represented in the Senate by 1 member each. In the case of Quebec, each of the 24 senators representing that province shall be appointed for one of the 24 electoral divisions of Lower Canada specified in Schedule A to Chapter 1 of the Consolidated Statutes of Canada. And Note 12.